Everybody get in. It's about 15, 20 seconds or so, counting it down. Check the audio. We always do that. Of course, had to dodge the countdown there. About 15, 20 seconds or so. There we go. So I hear myself. That's always good. Are we quite, we're not quite to winter yet, are we? Were we still in fall? So I got fall up there. All right, let everybody get in here. Yeah, Robbie was on time today. Always good to see that. No permission slip granted. He didn't have to use that today. Anyway, let everybody get in on another edition of Explorers Expresso. It is December 3rd. You are live on Facebook and on Instagram. And if you follow my YouTube channel, you're on my YouTube as well. So wherever you are, so I use my hands to kind of bring everybody in. Gather around, gather around. Let's talk some Explorers baseball here on this Wednesday again, the 3rd of December. Technically still fall, so I got the fall grabbing up. Although, when I guess, X'd it out. Is that what you do? I used a winter shot, but only because my brethren, you folks in Sioux City who are up there, have been shoveling. And I know that it was very similar to that most of the Midwest. Been a bit of a rough go. Adjust the camera there just a tad. We'll get the audio show going in just a second. But anyway, get everybody. Steve Montgomery will join us in about 10 minutes. Get a hot stove update for the man on the top step. Looking forward to that. And of course, your questions and comments and whatever it is that's on your mind. I always like to start with a question. We will get that to you in a moment. And anyway, we're no longer up next. We can hide up next, right? We can put a graphic up, right, in just a moment. But let's do this. We love to do this. Everybody's all in. We're ready to go. Jason, good to see you. Everybody out there, let's go. Let's roll that open in 3, 2, 1. Here we go.
Well, it's baseball time in Siouxland once again. The Explorers are out to bring home.
Oh, yes. Baseball Cincinnati style. All right, all right, all right, all right, all right. Baseball Sioux City style. I love it. We know that means that it's something just gonna warm your heart up here as I'll bring it down there, fade it down there, fade it down, fade it down, fade it down. Hear that? You kind of feel like we're only months away. Well, we're actually more than that. I was actually doing the math this morning on my walk. I could I got up way early. The alarm was supposed to go off this morning. Wednesday's an early morning for me. It was supposed to go off, I believe, at 5:42 ish. I was up before that, about an hour before. And as I'm pondering in the cold here in DFW, yes, it was below. It was freezing last night here, and I'm bundled up in my warm workout clothes, and I'm walking along in the dark. Sun was about to come up. Beautiful morning, by the way. And I'm thinking, all right, let me add up the days. And I started adding them up, and then I was like, what am I doing? We're not into Christmas yet. What am I doing? We're not into Christmas yet. There's no reason to add up now. Let's just say that song does warm the heart, though. I mean, we all know that it's a little only below zero there. Play ball, Robbie says, there in Iowa. Well, my question to you is, and this is coming from that, when is it time to start counting the days? Is it okay now to count the days? Do you count the days Christmas, January 2nd, when spring training starts, the big leagues? When do we count the days? I'm not counting the days yet. I will admit I am not counting the days. I'd love to hear from y'all what you think. What or when do we start counting the days? Because I found an old graphic of 100 days out from last year. I was kind of thinking maybe I have a bit and try to scratch through it or whatever, but then I was like, nah. But my question to you today, December 3rd, 2025, opening days May 15th, 26. When do we start counting the days? Is it now? Next month? And I'll give you my answer. My answer is this. This is my answer. I believe we count the days once you start seeing pitchers and catchers report because, I mean, that sort of means okay because you're going to start seeing on your local television, whether it be if you're watching I sort of say ESPN. I say it tongue in cheek. They don't really report sports news anymore. That's not what they do, but they used to. But I remember back in the day when teams report, they used to do that tour around spring training and do a grapefruit and a cactus league deal, and they'd have their reporters out when these teams arrive. I know here in the Metroplex where I'm based in the winter, when the Rangers report to spring training, it's a big deal. The week before, they show them all packing their semi trucks going out west. And then the team reports, pitchers and catchers, and it's nothing but a bunch of guys walking around the field playing catch. But you start thinking then, okay, opening day is what? 40 days away or 30 days away, whatever. My thing is, I'm the same way. Yes. Am I thinking about the spring? Yes. Am I thinking about the 26 X's season? Yes. Am I thinking about, what's it going to be like opening night in Kane County? Yes. All those things are in my head, but I'm not counting the days until we get to pitchers and catchers reporting and I finally start to see, I don't know, might see a box score at the Matt Lloyd in a spring training game, right? Something like that. That's where I'm coming from, okay? Robbie says, I say when 26 starts, the days start counting down. Okay, so when you get to midnight, 12:01 on the 1st of January 2026, the year of our Lord, you will be counting down. I think that's good too. I think there's a really good case for that. I think because the holidays, there's a lot of stuff going on now. When I was in affiliated ball, you go to winter meetings usually around the 10th of December ish, around then. You go to winter meetings and you started thinking a little bit about okay, and I remember being a GM in Burlington that I was the interim GM for a year. So I know what Tom goes through when he was doing that back in the West Coast in affiliate ball. You had to make some orders on some souvenirs and some merch, some of your giveaway items, your magnet schedules, things like that had to go in. So for about a 10-day period, you're thinking about all that. Then once you got back from the winter meetings, you placed your orders, you got back home, it was Christmas time. You didn't think about it again until about middle of January, if not later. So there's a little bit of especially when the hot stove gets heated up, the big leagues, you're at the winter meetings, that's all going on. You're all fired up, you're all ready to go. But that's my take on it. So I'd love to hear what you guys think here. When is it going to start counting down? When the stockings are hung, when the stockings are taken down. For me, it's when pitchers and catchers report. But although I will be counting, I will definitely figure it up in my head. Because again, I was doing the math this morning 6:05 in the morning, trying to stay warm. As I'm walking around my neighborhood, I'm going, wait, is it? I'm trying to do the math, and I got tired head and just said, forget it. Forget it. Explorers Expresso, Dan Vaughn with you. Glad you're along. Steve Montgomery will be along in a moment. We're going to catch up on the hot stove. Now, it's been a busy, I don't know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I expect one or two more signings before Santa comes to town. Uh, we're going to give you a rundown. We're going to go through the 4 players that have been added since we talked to Mongo last, just about a month ago. And then I'm going to tease this now, and I'll bring it up again later on. On the 17th, that's 2 weeks from today, is our big Christmas extravaganza. And if you've missed that the last 2 years, it usually entails Bobby Post joining Steve Montgomery, and we do talk a little baseball, but we also talk about Christmas, about wishes and all that stuff. So we'll do that in 2 weeks' time. In the meantime, you can go to all of our podcasts. They're all up online. I'm going to blow our horn a little bit here because back Exis Central there at Sioux City's Lewis and Clark Park. You know, Emily, Emma, I've been doing a great job of keeping the socials going on their side. I like to think I've done a good job on my side, and I hope you guys are getting a little bit of everything. You're getting a little of the successful Black Friday, as Steve Montgomery will be joining us in a moment. You get a little of that. You've got that. You've got these. You've got a little videos we put up. I hope, and my hope is you guys are. Oops, I think I froze up for a moment. I hope you guys are enjoying what we're doing because I think the little X's that could, what we do, with what we do, I think we do a really good job. And I hope you're enjoying this show, our X's shots, behind the scenes on Black Friday cuts, all the things we do, all that. And before Mongo gets to us, he's going to join me in just a moment. I got a couple things here. Let's see here. Robbie says, when are we going to put the Hawkeyes logos on the eyesore behind the batter's eye in Lincoln? Uh, that I don't know. I don't know what to tell you about that, although congratulations to Iowa. Big win last week for those Hawkeyes there in Lincoln. I know Tom was not happy. Iowa found offense, Robbie. That's something interesting. Bruce says, I start missing baseball 1 week after the season ends, start looking forward to the season. We start signing guys. You know what? And Bruce, I'm right there with you because I do get intrigued by that. It gets me fired up. It gets me doing shows like this. I'm with you there. And yeah, Bruce chiming in there. Well, let's jump right in. The man waiting in the wings there. I believe he's going to join me right now. If I can, there he is, Steve Montgomery. Mongo, how you doing, my friend? Greetings, happy post Thanksgiving. How you doing, mate?
Good. How about yourself?
Good, good. Did you survive last week?
Yeah, yeah. Went over to Bobby's house for Thanksgiving. Obviously, that's a like a tradition, and good to see all of his um, daughters and family members. Just good. I enjoy my time here, and good to have close friends and family you can spend Thanksgiving with.
Gotta be good. I know. I've often wanted, and this is something I'm going to save this for the 2 weeks for our Christmas special. But I'd love a hidden camera there that day between you and Bobby there because I hear the stories down the road what happens, but there's got to be some fun times. Was there any really uh, fun Thanksgiving story you could kind of give us now that maybe I just love that something you think back on from last week?
No, actually, it was the previous year was a little more adventurous, but this one was kind of mild. You know, um, Christmas time will be a little more ramped up because I'll have my son here, and my son and Jaden are separated by about a year, maybe. And Emily's like a big sister to Tevin. I think they're the same age, and so the stories will definitely ramp up over the Christmas holiday. But it was very mild mannered. A lot of football. Played. We did play an interesting game. It's not viewer friendly. Where every person puts eight things in a bowl, and then you have to have your team guess it by you can verbally explain it. The next one you can only use one word, and the next one you have to act out. So you can imagine, with some young adults, some of the stuff. So, um, but it was fun. It's always a good time. Those his daughters are like kids to me and stuff like that. So, um, you know, uh, you grow up with them. Shoot, we've been here since 14, so I've seen them grow. They've been on road trips, everything. So it's just nice time to see everybody get together. And it's just Thanksgiving's so short lived. It's one day, and then you got Black Friday, then you got rivalry week, and then it's over. So now you got to wait another 365 days for it.
There you go. There you go. Explorers Expresso, Dan Vaughn with you, manager Steve Montgomery with us. Let's jump in to it's been a busy since we talked, I believe the 5th of November. And that's what we're going to really kind of dive in just to get updated because it's been a busy. And I'm gonna throw this out there as a fan because I am the ultimate fan. I just have a great seat. I'm intrigued by what you've done so far, and I would love to just get your thoughts on what I'm saying, because just in blanket, because there's every guy you signed has got a really interesting story, interesting upside, and I, as a fan, I'm fired up. Are you fired up about what you've grabbed just overall before I dive into them individually?
As a whole, I think we've been able to grab a middle of the order type bat with Asensio. We have other pieces that we've agreed to, but um, that are returners that we haven't, we've agreed on terms and stuff. I feel like we've added a little bit of depth to the lineup. I feel like we've added more power to the lineups. We might be, I don't know, just going in, are we going to steal 275 bags? Um, you know, I, I don't think so, but are we going to have more threats for doubles and homers and stuff like that? And maybe that uh, fits other ballparks a little better than what it fits our ballpark. But I just thought it was important, just after dissecting last year, and we've talked to have that threat in the middle of the order, maybe a more veteran presence. And that doesn't mean I'm done doing what maybe another middle of the order type bat, another hitter and stuff like that. So we're currently working on two right now. But I just felt as though we needed more veteran leadership, I guess you could say, through the lineup a little bit. Not to say that the guys last year didn't do a great job. They did. They did a phenomenal job. But we were really young. And I just think some veteran leadership, might be key to taking that next step.
Floors Expresso, Dan Vaughn with you, Steve Montgomery, as I get my screen sort of sorted here. Sorry about that. There we go. All right. You actually mentioned, and I'm going to he's he teased a player we're going to announce next week, but I'll just say it. Yes, yeah, Asensio. We will get to him next week. I'll have a little video for you guys next Tuesday. But let's go back a couple weeks ago. Um, I love the familiarity. I mean, we had Ben Tay on 2 weeks ago. Great to have him back. He was such a find last year. Really grew, and he told the story about how really you guys just you let him go out there and kind of learn, and then you kind of made the adjustments. Talk about that adjustment last year for him.
Well, I thought, obviously, and I explained this with Ryan Beard as well, right? We're going to hand him the ball. We want to hand him the ball in a non-pressure situation that first time out. Obviously, butterflies are going to be involved. It's first professional outing, everything like that. So um, just let him do his thing. And I thought that Bobby did an excellent job in kind of taking his stuff, analytically speaking, and then taking his stuff, what we see old school wise, and blending them. You know, he came to us with an angled back foot. Um, so the if to explain it easy, rubber sits like this. Normally your foot is adjacent like that to it. His was like that. So his heel was facing the on deck batter, or I would say the hitter kitty corner. So, and I think that was to give him more angle and stuff like that. So, what we did was we naturally set him back and talked to him about using ground force uh, to enhance pitch quality and pitch location. And when they did that, his stuff really took off. He's a guy that never didn't take the ball, which is huge, especially when you're talking about limited rosters. He's a guy that can fill multiple roles. He can go multiple innings. He could be a left on left guy. He could do everything. He was, I thought, a very key part. Obviously, being a local Iowa guy as well. Always want to keep the Iowa kids home. I thought that was a huge get for us, and he's a guy that just can really do a lot of things, and especially with that rookie next to his name. Obviously, you're only as good as the last person on your roster, and as a rookie, him and Beard both showed some real upside, and we're excited to have Ben back in Sioux City.
Flores Expresso, Dan Vaughn, and Steve Montgomery were talking about the updates on the hot stove here on the show. I, I want to roll this by you too. We had a really great conversation with him. I love his makeup, and I'm paraphrasing here, but one thing he said, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this. I said, you're chasing those major league dreams, and it's a chance to get signed. All the things that I kind of think that guys want to do, and he wants to do that, but he really seems to be enjoying the moment. He loves the game, and it would be in the backyard with Sioux City or in Yankee Stadium. He's just loving the game. I love that refreshing approach. He didn't, and I'm kind of paraphrasing. He didn't really get so focused on trying to get there that he's missing the actual enjoyment of the game. Your thoughts on that? I mean, it seems like a refreshing approach.
Yeah, it is, and that's the part of, Dan, you've been in those first spring training meetings and stuff where we say, enjoy the moment, right? Enjoy what you're doing. Try to win as many games as you can, but really, ultimately, control the controllables, right? You can't control whether you're going to get picked up by a major league organization. You're going to get an offer here. You're going to get an offer there. That's out of your control. What you can control as a pitcher is your work ethic, your attitude, your effort, your pitch quality, where you throw it, your pregame, your pregame catch, everything. That's what you can control. You can't control whether the Mets, the Yankees, or whoever are going to come in and purchase your contract. So if you control the controllables, then everything else will take care of itself. And I use the Chase Jesse example, right? Here's a young man. He pitched 3 years in the Pioneer League. Okay. And he had respectable good numbers, and we had good reports on him. Okay, he came in and he bought into what Bobby was trying to teach, and what we were trying to get accomplished. He bought in. Okay, he's getting his first opportunity, and in the back of his mind, I'm sure he was sitting there thinking, uh uh, why am I not getting picked up? Look at my numbers. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But at the end of the day, he came to the clubhouse with work ethic. He came to the clubhouse with a will to win. He came to the clubhouse with control the controllable attitudes. And we said, we're going to do everything in our power to get you an opportunity. We got him in the winter ball. And he's getting another opportunity, and those are the success stories for me. Here's a young man at 27, 28 years old, somewhere in there, um, that's going to get his first taste of a major league spring training. It's phenomenal, and it's what we try to get accomplished for these young men each and every year.
Flores Expresso, Dan Vaughn, Steve Montgomery with you here on the live show and the podcast. Where we get your podcast at. Now this, I mean, Bendite was intriguing as well, but I find this young man uh, answering several questions. Dylan Tatum, Stockton, California native, was out in the Pioneer League again, but he also showed some pop last year. Is this the heir apparent veteran everyday guy you like behind the plate?
I mean, right now, yeah. I mean, are we gonna, and I've explained this to Dylan. There's gonna be competition. But he's a young man that we got good reports from. Raf uh, got good reports from his Pioneer League contacts. We did some due diligence behind the scenes about one of Raf's good friends is the Twins catching coordinator. So, we Raf reached out to him. I reached out to some other guys, kind of came together. Yeah, he's here. He's coming from a winning program in Oakland. They won the championship. He's a catch and throw guy. Uh, as a lot of stories in Major League Baseball are that you get drafted, everybody wants to put their fingerprints on you in case you get to the major league level. and he kind of got lost with his swing, not with his catching ability. His catching ability is very, very good. He led the Pioneer League in strikes stolen, so we know the catching ability's there. He got lost in the twin system hitting wise, and whether it's I don't. I didn't get into the X's and O's about that, but you can just tell with the numbers, right? And that's the hard thing about getting drafted is that you all of a sudden they want to change everything about you and try to get you to hit a certain way and do that. And sometimes that doesn't work for everybody. I told him the biggest thing is we want him to come in and be himself. Uh, Continue to build upon what you did in Oakland last year at this level, and you could get another opportunity. He's a guy that works hard back there. I watched game film on him. Uh, very very good at blocking balls in the dirt, and it gives us and to speak transparently, it gives us a level of protection with what Curtis is going to do. We don't know right now. We just had a conversation with Curtis actually right before Thanksgiving. He's probably, we're not pressuring him. We're not doing anything. We want to let him kind of, he's taken a real job, but there's still that fire there to play. So, is there a possibility he could do both? There is a possibility that that could happen. It's just a matter of trying to figure out. And that's not to say, and I said this to Curtis too. That doesn't mean that you come in and he's still working out, he's still hitting, he's still doing everything. That you know, Dylan comes in, and then we just split time, and keep everybody fresh. There's a possibility of that. Curtis did an unbelievable job for us last year, but at the same time, we really liked what Dylan brought to the table, and we're very fortunate that he chose us. He had other options to go other places, but he liked what we said about coming in, working hard, working at your task every day, and trying to get better every day. That's at the end of the day. Each and every day is an opportunity for you to get better, and I feel like we do that very well. We come in, we get our work in, we make the necessary adjustments, and we prepare for that night's game. And it seems to be a recipe for success. We just gotta, get over that hump once September comes.
23 home runs, second on the Oakland club. I think 75 RBIs was third. Seems like whatever was the issue, and you mentioned a little bit with the Twins, uh, it appears to be on the right track. I'll ask it from this standpoint, giving a chance to now let Rafael Melchion kind of even maybe take it one step further, perhaps.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Raf did an unbelievable job, especially first year coming in. Now he had a lot of hitters he was familiar with. We had Day, Davis, Byrne, who had all been previously with him, so he has some familiarity, some comfort. I've known Raf for oh man, years, and he's always been. He worked with Bobby. Bobby always spoke volumes of his hitting approach and everything, and you know. Raf does an excellent job of allowing them to be themselves, but also on the backside of it as a staff, preparing for that night's starting pitcher, right? Whether it be spin rates, whether it be stuff, whether it be, hey, this is how he's going to attack you. And then the other thing that Raf does that is unseen by the naked eye is, in the third inning, fourth inning, we're making adjustments in the dugout. Hey, he's not doing this tonight, he's doing this to us, so we need to make that adjustment that second time through the lineup. That's what's not seen. And then obviously when the bullpen comes in, us knowing right away this is what this guy does, this is how he attacks, because starters can kind of change start to start and stuff like that. Bullpen guys are normally they're going to come in and they're going to do what they do. So we didn't Raf did an unbelievable job of making mid-game adjustments, and that did an excellent job at when the bullpen came in, us being it, because when the bullpen comes in, obviously it's critical situations and stuff. So we did an excellent job there, and then us keeping the data, and can we run on them, the times to home, stuff like that, which is a whole staff thing, and also crediting Dan Butler as well. Dan did an excellent job for us, scouting report wise, stuff wise, everything like that, and just having him on the bench was invaluable to me.
Flores Expresso, Dan Vaughn and Steve Montgomery with you. You bring up something, and this was not one of my notes here, but I've been doing actually in the regional finals in high school football in Texas, doing a game Friday night. And what I've noticed, and this has been, and you mentioned adjustments, because I'll even use the football analogy, because I don't think we realize that baseball, we got to make adjustments, and you have between innings as the game progresses, where football, the teams that are making adjustments at halftime and between quarters are the ones that were successful. It's the same thing in baseball. Those breaks, those inning breaks are huge for you guys. Walk me through what goes on adjustment. Well, you kind of mentioned a little bit, but what goes on? I mean, and how important is it to make those adjustments? Because I really believe that that's the difference in besides throwing strikes.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the adjustments start as a staff really at 6:45. Let's call it a 7:05 game. At 6:45, I already have Bobby. If the starting pitcher is faulting or does maybe doesn't have a pitch that game and stuff like that, they're trying to make adjustments in the bullpen to kind of get that pitch, whether he's on the side of it, stuff like that. So you have Bobby starting at 6:45. All right, we've already had the meeting with Curtis. We've already had the meeting with the starting pitcher. We've already had the meeting with the hitters as far as this is who you're facing. This is what he tries to do. This is what he does. This is his go to pitch. And then going through the lineup, this is what they're trying to do. Is it a guy who's trying to pull the ball? It's this guy struggles with this. So everything is already laid in place. Um, Once you get through that first inning, let's just call it a home game. Top of the first inning, it's good. If everything went smoothly, Bobby ain't going to say much, right? Immediately, Raf is in the dugout and he reiterates to the hitters, hey, stay on this, stay on that, do this, do that. So he's reiterating to them. And then as they walk by, Raf's right there on the rail. So he's right in their ear as they go to the on deck circle, right in their ear. And then obviously, uh, Bobby is inning by inning. Raph will let that first time go through the lineup. And then that second time, okay, we have, hey, he's 85 or 90% first pitch fastballs, right? Okay. If it's there and he's pitching us mainly away, or it might be, 8 out of the 9 were away. He's pounding one guy in, right? So right there is adjustment time. Okay. Hey, we need to look for a ball out over the plate. Okay, don't forget, second time through, he starts a lot of people off with that slider, okay? Or he starts a lot of people off with off speed because so it's constantly adjusting. Obviously, if he's a slow guy to the plate, I'm mentioning to him in the dugout, hey, listen, let's not wait around. Catcher's a 2-0, he's a 1-4. That's 3-4. If we get a good jump, we got to get moving. We got to steal a bag. And then obviously, I just let Raf talk about the hitting side of it. I let Bobby kind of talk about the pitching side of it. Dan really controlled a lot of the defensive positioning and everything. And then I'm just kind of what I see, I'm mentioning to each coach as an overseer of a lot of different things. Um, so it's great to have people you trust on your staff. And I thought this year went as smoothly as a staff as I've ever been around because you just gave them a task and it was almost like you're the CEO and it just made my job super enjoyable and very easy to do and doesn't mean that the game planning and stuff and everything doesn't mean it goes smoothly all the time. Obviously we lost 30 some games so it didn't go our way all the time so but I thought our preparation each and every day, each and every road trip. I mean, you saw us on the bus, Dan. We're talking and doing things on the bus and preparing for that next series. And, for an hour and a half, 2 hours, then everybody's tired and everybody kind of takes a nap. And then we hit a truck stop, we get some coffee, and bang, we're back at it again. So, it's a hard 110 days or 116 days, whatever it is. It's a grind. There's no doubt about it. A lot of bus trips, a lot of a lot of sleepless nights, but at the end of the day, it's a will to win. It's a will and a want to succeed, and the staff had it.
More names to get to on Explorers Expresso. Dan Vaughn and Steve Montgomery with you talking about the updates on the roster. And I mentioned, we talked about, Ben Dete, rookie, great stuff last year. Just talked about Tatum and his long ball potential. Um, I really am excited and intrigued about this young man here. And I don't know if you can actually see it. That's a bad the graphic's kind of small, but uh, it's kind of small there. But Brahilio Vasquez, it's a kind of small picture of him right there. I'm not sure why it's so small on the screen, but this is a guy that I find intriguing. Anyone that plays for me, anyone that plays anytime in Japan, uh, has done something at a high level. I mean, he's playing the second highest level in Japan, whole year in 24. This guy's really intriguing. Talk about Brahilio Vasquez, Mongo.
Yeah, Braulio came up through the Braves system, and ironically, a catcher that I had back in 2016, Ralphie Henriquez, second round pick out of Key West, Florida. He was his complex coach. So I called immediately Ralphie and just said, "Hey, tell me about him." Now, obviously, he's far removed from those days, but I wanted to kind of know about the person, about the player, stuff like that. So just doing a little background check. And Ralphie spoke volumes of him. Hardworking kid, switch hitter, which I really like. Um, he's a guy that can do it from both sides of the plate. He's very, very toolsy, is how Ralphie explained him to me. Uh, he can play multiple positions on the field. He can go third, short, second, first. He go left, right. So he's a guy. He's a Swiss Army knife. He's a guy that obviously intrigued us from playing in Japan. Got some film on him. Has some leverage in his swing. He's also a guy that can run. You look at the stolen base totals. But when Ralphie told me he's very toolsy, that he just didn't get the opportunity to play every day in the Braves system. So, I thought it was a guy that could provide some depth into the lineup. He's a guy that I want to get my eyeballs on. And and playing in Japan obviously intrigued us uh, enough to get him under contract and see those tools firsthand.
And I will add too, stealing 15 bases at AAA in Japan is no joke. I mean, yes, US, stealing 20, 30 bases is a big deal, but in Japan, and you know this from your time playing international, it's a little different. They hold runners different. They do a lot more pitch outs. I mean, they take those little things that a lot of the things that the X's do, they do in Japan. A lot of things you guys do is very Oceania style. 15 bases at AAA Japan ain't no joke. That's
Yeah,
pretty impressive.
yeah. And if anybody can recall the Dodgers, right, who have probably three of the best Japanese players probably ever to play, can come out of Japan. There's a lot of slide steps. There's a lot of abbreviated slide steps. They're not guys who come up to the full leg kick. They take pride in the little tiny things that sometimes I think gets lost in the United States version of baseball. And to steal 15 there is good. I'm guessing that we're going to see a guy that probably does a lot of timing runs, where a guy, comes set and, we always teach it in spring training. You come set and you start chanting UCLA, UCLA, and you'll start to see a pattern. He comes set, UCL, he pitches, UCL, he pitches, UCL, he pitches. And you've checked it a couple times. And guess what? UCL, bang, you take off before he throws the ball home. So I'm guessing that he's really talented in that, just because in Japan they do so many slide steps and they're 1-2, 1-1 to the plate. And for those who are just average baseball fans, the average catcher is a 2.0, the average pitcher's a 1-3, the average base runner on a good jump is a 3-3 to a 3-4. So if you add that up, it's bang bang. Um, when you start to get over that 1-3 as a pitcher, then stealing bases becomes easier. So, um, you know, uh, I'm guessing that he does a lot of timing runs, or you know, he just took advantage of some slower guys to the plate.
Explorers Expresso here talking about the recent signings. Before we move on, he is versatile. Can play those middle spots, third, second. And, he's played a little bit everywhere. Uh, I know you don't want a guy necessarily bouncing around, but having the ability to play other places. We talk about this a lot. Gives you some flexibility. Any idea where you might like to see him, or is there just maybe to be determined?
Yeah, to be determined. Obviously, according to what we are able to get, and what we're able to, land. Where we're it does, some breaking news. I'll just give it to you. It looks like Josh Day is going to go to the Atlantic League. So, we're going to be losing a big piece. In the middle of the lineup, but he just felt as though this is his last year playing. If he doesn't get picked up, he wanted to go out east, maybe a closer to home type thing. So he just currently got engaged. So we want to obviously congratulate him on that. And he'll be sorely missed. There's no doubt. He provided a little bit of quiet leadership. He wasn't a real vocal guy, but he also wasn't afraid to be vocal. So we're currently, talking to a shortstop right now. So just trying to navigate what we can get back, what wants to move on, and the other, and it's crushing, is that Mexico. Mexico is very, very active right now, and it looks as though we could possibly be losing an arm to Mexico. I mean, it's a big arm for us, probably a back end guy, if anybody wants to just clue that in. So, it's it makes the job challenging. There's no doubt about it. It is challenging. It's challenging for a lot of different managers in this league that are losing players to Mexico and everything. But we can't match the monetary stuff that they're offering in Mexico. So. Um, it just makes for challenge. It's just a challenge, and what we're able to get our hands on, what we're able to do, and stuff like that. Like it's very, very difficult, but we'll try to keep figuring it out, and trying to sign quality. Not only quality players, but quality people as well.
And you bring up Mexico, and I'll just ask you point blank, what can we do about it? What can we do as a group, a league, whatever? What can we do to offset that?
I don't think there's anything you can do. You know, we have a cap, and we have a salary cap. I mean, you could sit here and you could say, "Oh, we need to hire the salary cap. We need to do that." It's not still not going to work. Like it's just not going to work. Um, when these guys are, making eight to $15,000 a month, and sometimes even more than that down there. How are we going to ask, that kind of increase in a salary cap? That I think this league has a unbelievable model that we have changed over the years. Don't get me wrong, we have changed it. We have combined the rookies and the LS1s to try to get more experienced people. We've raised the salary cap over $60,000. So for the owners, we can't thank them enough for their commitment and their want to make this league grow and get better. You can't ask them to be Mexico. It's just you can't. We don't. That would be, you know. However, 15. They don't pay their natives. So, and then 3 or 4 years ago, they upped the foreigners from 6 to 20. So that's when you saw the big spike in players in our league and other leagues around the United States going to Mexico because their imports got up to 20. So it's challenging, but there's nothing we can do. I like the way the league's modeled. Obviously, I'm on the rules committee, so we do have some good ideas, but well, at the end of the day, this league has been around through a lot of different things, right? The Northern League at first was, and then it
Yep.
broke away and formed the American Association, and then the Northern League went into the American Association. The leadership, the ownerships, all of our directors, they got their heads on straight, and they know what they're doing. And we make little tweaks here and there that. Is just phenomenal. It's just like, for instance, the meal money. They increased the meal money. And you think about it, you're like, oh, well, it's a couple dollars a day, whatever it is, $5 a day. But when you think about it in terms of how many players they're paying, it adds up very quickly. And I can't thank the owners and stuff like that for voting that stuff in. It just means the world to us managers, and I know it means the world to the players as well.
Yeah, cost of living as well.
Yeah.
Rounding third, heading for home with Steve Montgomery here on Explorers Expresso. Glad you guys are along here. Final one, and I saved him for last because I think that Alberto Osuna, an interesting story. And if you follow sport in general, it doesn't matter the professional ranks. There's sort of a blurred line now. If you talk about college basketball, college football, and now college baseball, he was a guy last year, if you followed the goings on, he was a very interesting story because
Yeah.
he challenged the NCAA, tried to get an extra year, and there's a lot of this going on right now. I even saw the Vanderbilt quarterback went through this. There's been a lot of guys have gone this route because there is a blurred line now with NIL and all that. So he's very an intriguing story. But oh, by the way, this guy also belted and belted quite often there in North Carolina. Uh, Initial thoughts on this young man?
Well, he's a guy that we had interest in last year um, when he came out. So, interesting story. Obviously, we have a North Carolina connection. Patrick Johnson, Greg
Yep,
Holt, Alex White. So, we have that North Carolina connection. But here he transferred to Tampa. Okay,
yep,
when he was at Tampa, the head coach is a guy by the name of Joe Urso. Obviously, I lived in Tampa, so I know Joe.
yep,
My son actually played with his sons at Plant High School, so I know that connection, and that's Jeremy Goins and all that stuff.
yep.
So then Luke Bonfield, who played for me in 2018, was director of analytics or some title at the University of Tennessee. He did some recruiting and stuff like that. So that at every stop we had a connection, and Luke spoke volumes of this young man. He's a guy that tried to use the Diego Pavia rule in his favor. Tennessee actually got behind it. I think they hired some lawyers and stuff, but he challenged the NCAA trying to get a year of eligibility back. It didn't work out in his favor and stuff like that. So then he joined Staten Island, and his manager was Mark Minikazi. Well, Mark Minikazi was in our league back in like 2006,
Yep,
2004,
yep,
2000, somewhere in there. But also, Mark Minikazi lives in the Arizona area, which is where Raf and Dan, and they're really good friends with him. So, and then his agent is Marmon's agent. So it's just a whirlwind of different things that came together. But I'm super excited to have him. He's a guy that I don't think, you got to take last year and kind of throw it out, because here's a young man who didn't get live. You can take all the live at bats you want indoors, right? And live BPs and stuff like that, but game action. Okay. He's a guy that missed almost a year and a half of game action. And then he went to the Atlantic League. I talked to the young man, asked him, what his story was as far as why he thinks he didn't get an opportunity. Because here's a guy that hit almost 20 homers, or maybe even more than 20 homers at North
yep,
Carolina. Why are
yeah.
you not getting an opportunity inside of Major League Baseball? I understand that a little bit of it was age because he's a little older guy. So I get that, but why? Why? You tell me. And he's like, it's my body. And I found that interesting. I said, well, what are we doing? What are we doing? And he's like, I've already lost, 20 some pounds. I feel stronger. I've put on weight. He's working with the University of Tennessee strength and conditioning coordinator. So I was really, really excited about that. He's a young man that obviously his primary position is first base, but he also wants to play a little bit of corner outfield to kind of get that, more opportunities, right? And I told him, I was like, look, like you got to be able to run, you got to be able to, so he's working on his speed and agility, he's cleaning up his body. And I found that to be very intriguing. And on top of, here's a young man that in the ACC is hitting 20 homers. So he's got pop. I talked to Luke. He said he's an unbelievable person. He's a man of God. So he's going to fit right in that clubhouse. Obviously, Dan, we had a very, very religious team last year, and he'll fit right in with that. Had some good conversations with him and his agent, and able to come up with a plan and come up with a deal to bring him into Sioux City. I'm super excited to have him. Hopefully, we can get that. I told him, I said, we got to get we got to get some leverage. We got to get back to who you are. Don't be who everyone else wants you to be who you are. And we're already we saw some game film and stuff like that. And he's a guy that brings some power five, and he's not going to be scared, I can tell you that.
Right. 107 RBIs in JUCO, was led the country when in junior college. It's all junior colleges, not just one. Every junior college, he was the first player in North Carolina history to come in as a transfer. He had 20 home runs, and this guy has got a huge upside. And I'll wrap it up by asking you this, because there, yeah, he didn't play last year. There were some distractions, and rightfully so, because he was trying to get that extra year and wanted to, maybe get himself eligible for the draft and all that, get a high draft pick and all that. Do you get the feeling that, and I'm asking you for him, but that now with some of that all behind him, he can sort of, all right, let's go forward?
Yeah, yeah, there's no doubt. That's all a distraction, right? And like I said, control the controllables, right? Like that's something he couldn't control. So your mind is focused where? Your mind is focused on, am I going to be eligible or am I not going to be eligible? And then he gets ruled ineligible, we appeal. So now the appeal process, that's in your mind. And now the whole time you're working. Am I eligible today? But I'm working, I'm working. So you have the distractions instead of just, hey, let's just do what I do. Okay, let's just be a baseball player. And it's just an unfortunate situation. And let's be honest. And I mean, if I'm being transparent, why is Diego Pavia allowed to do it, but this young man isn't? So that's what I don't understand, and I
Yeah,
don't understand all the
yeah, yeah,
legalities of
yeah.
it. And there's something about a fall sport and a spring sport. I don't understand that, and it's not my job to understand it, I guess. So, but I don't understand how one guy gets it and one guy gets it. And then I just heard, just off script a little bit. I just heard the other day that there's a possibility that all sports, all JUCOs don't
Mhm.
count.
Yep,
So
yep,
I was
yep,
sitting there thinking to myself, I was like, I'll take my son for an example. He pitched 1 year at Iowa Western.
yep.
He pitched 1 year at Oregon State. He has Tommy John last year, and now he's going to pitch this year. So I'm like, this kid, he's a sophomore athletically if that happens. And I'm
Right. Yep.
like, that screws a lot of major league teams, because yeah, you can draft them at 21, right? But normally they only have one leverage draft. And what I mean by a leverage draft is you got to go back to school, little birdie right here, that if you don't like the money, I'll just go back to school, right? Because now these guys are making money at schools. I'll just go back to school. But now, like a kid like my son, he has two leverage drafts now. He has leverage drafts, and That's what the JUCO mantra was: is going to a JUCO, you could go back to school, you could do all that stuff. So you had a lot of leverage. Now you're talking about guys at like Power Four programs having all this leverage, and we know at Power Four they're making a little bit of cha-ching. So it is wild times, man.
It's
It is
it's a
wild times.
it's wild times in sport in general, and I mean, we got. I've kept you way too long because I wanted, but I'll ask you this too. Just your thoughts as a competitive guy, and I'm a no Ole Miss fan, but that was a bit of a mess over the weekend. And you're a football fan, I mean, it's just we have a really different world now than we had even 5 years ago. I mean, 10 years ago. I mean, it's different now. I mean,
Yeah.
everything's crazy,
Yeah, people aren't going to like probably my opinion on this. I'm just telling you. But I do not blame Lane Kiffin. I don't. And this is why. He is making X amount of dollars at Ole Miss.
right?
If you're making 7 or 9 million, does it really matter? Like it doesn't. It doesn't. It's an ego thing at that point, right? So, but what matters to Lane Kiffin is when he goes like me and you, and I'm talking to you as a recruit and saying, I can pay you this. I can get you this. I can get you this NIL and stuff like that. So what I think Lane Kiffin did was obviously it was a distraction, but credit Lane Kiffin for keeping his team focused on the task at hand, finishing 11-1. However, I think what Lane Kiffin did was I think he went into Ole Miss and he said, "Listen, I want to stay here. I want to stay here. Okay, I'm comfortable here, but I only have, let's just call it 15 million to spend on my team. Over here, I have 25 million to spend with my team. Okay. So that's a $10 million and whatever. I don't know the exact number, but
Right.
I know it's more at LSU.
Sure. Right.
Can you, as Ole Miss, match that so that I'm on a level playing field with all the other SEC teams? Can
Right.
you do that for me? And I don't think they were willing to do that. And I think that's why he left. Ultimately, he left for the NIL money, not the contract. Because I truly believe he does. At the press conference, he said, I don't even know what I'm making a year. I truly believe that. I think he knows probably the length of the term, but he lets Jimmy Sexton do the money. Because listen, if you're at Ole Miss and you're going to LSU, let's be honest, you're getting a pay raise. You know you are, because LSU's got all the money in the world. So if you can't, if you if the players and ultimately players win and lose games, let's be honest. But yeah, coaches make decisions, but like a fourth down call and go for it and stuff like that. But ultimately, if the players do their jobs, you're going to win. It's the same in baseball. It's the same. If the players do the job, you look like a genius. If the players don't do the job, you get faulted, and that's okay. That's the world we live in. And I think he left purely before NIL money, not because he wanted to leave, not because of anything, purely on resources alone.
Hey, Montgomery with us here. Wrapping it up as we will be seeing you. We'll see you in 2 weeks. But before I let you go, Bobby is asking. I'm teasing this for 2 weeks. He liked to have a no purse policy on the bus next year. So a no purse policy on the bus. Looks like a guy named Nate Gherkin said Mongo get a purse for road games, for home games. Also,
Ah,
also matching shoes. So we can discuss all this on our Christmas special in 2 weeks. So I just want to
yeah,
tease that. So
yeah, yeah,
I'll tease that. Just we'll discuss. We'll discuss in two. So you got 2 weeks to discuss and plan your
yes.
response to Bobby's torpedo shots across the bow. How about that?
Yeah, yeah. You knew those were coming. You knew that those were going to come. But I'm going to end the show with some college football. Um, 40-piece nugget put on the Huskers by the Hawkeyes. Oof. Iowa hasn't scored 40 points in a long time.
Wow.
Um, I'm sorry, Bruce, but it's a very disappointing season. I told you and I told you this, Dan. I had Nebraska this year, and I bet them at 7.5 wins. I bet the over. Okay, and they finished with 7. Very disappointing season, and another boring. I'm an Ohio State fan, so another boring year for the Buckeyes, going 11-0, and I'll give the fans a little tip. The spread is 4.5. Uh, might want to jump on the Buckeyes before that inflates.
I don't know what I'll do with myself should my Red Raiders win Saturday, get a bye, and win, and then they have to play Ohio State. I don't know what I'll do with myself.
Oh, there's gonna be some betting on the backside, Dan. Might have to bet some dinner with you and your bride.
Yes, yes, yes. Hey, appreciate you, my friend. I will see you in 2 weeks. Bobby will join us. We'll have our Christmas special. It should be fun. It's always fun when
Yeah,
we,
maybe I'll
we,
dress him up as an elf.
well, there you go. I mean, again, whatever you're gonna do, whatever you're gonna do. But hey, I appreciate your time and
All right.
enjoy the rest of your week, buddy.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks,
There
guys.
he is. There he is, Steve Montgomery, right there. Oh, never a shortage of things to talk about. He and I could go on forever. I even told my wife this last night, the great doctor. I said, you know, what I love about the job I do with Steve, and this happens and I'll pull the curtain back. We do our pregame interview, the first game of the series. In my mind, I know the basics I'm going to ask. I've never had a situation where I don't. It used to be, and I'll go back to Greg Taggart or Joe Cafapietra, guys I worked with before. I'd oftentimes, especially with tags, I would write down 4 or 5 things I wanted to ask. But with Mongo, it's pretty simple. He and I wind up with this real relax, and I think it's personality wise. It's something that I've talked a little bit with Josh Schaub. He and I've had the same conversation when we've interviewed each other, or I've interviewed him. It sort of has more of a show, like we're co-hosting the show together. You know, I'm firing off questions, but I think it's a little bit relationship wise. It works the same way with Brad Albert, the voice of the Railroaders. He and I do high school sports together in Texas, and we had this real different thing. And it's just I don't have to write down necessarily. I mean, I knew that I was going to talk about these. Each guy had an intriguing thing this week, right? Tay being the rookie with success last year, Tatum with the long ball and suddenly hitting last year. Then Japan with Vasquez, and then the whole storyline with Osuna. And everything else just kind of comes together. And I love that because you can just go on and on here. Explorers Expresso, rounding third, heading for home. All right, last call here. What did I miss? Casey says, I hope all is well. It is well, Casey. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Good to see everybody else out there. Glad you guys stopped by. Kevin brought up a pretty good point. UCLA, it shouldn't be Ohio, Ohio. Very good, very good, very good. But again, I digress. For you folks that are watching us live here on Instagram and on, of course, Facebook Live, glad you guys stopped by. You folks in the podcast are going to get the bonus in a few moments, so that's a good thing as well. As the bonus is our look at the 1894 Sioux City Cornhuskers. If you do tune into the podcast, you're going to get the bonus part. It's the storyline. We're wrapping up that 1894 season, but some really intriguing stuff as they make their way, and we'll be discussing them as we go into the rest of the podcast versions. We'll have that tail end of the show will be the little 1894 flashbacks as we get you ready for the whatever we discuss next year on our flashback, which I haven't decided that yet, but I got to dive in at some point by the middle of January because got to start doing some research. So we got to get that going as well. Anyway, thanks to Steve Montgomery. Really, there's nothing more to really discuss. There's been a few moves around the league, but in general, nothing really. I didn't go like, wow. We talked about 2 weeks ago, or well, more than that, a month ago, we had the banana ball draft. There was some of that. Some teams lost some players here and there. You guys have already seen all that, and we can, that there's been a few by the wayside there, but in general, nothing really jumping out. I mean, it's going to slow down a bit. We did tease development next week. You will hear more about that on Tuesday. I'll give you a short little video on Tuesday as well. You can check it out on our Facebook page, also on our other links on our other channels. So you'll be able to check that out, our hot stove update. Well, thanks everybody for stopping by today. Glad you guys stopped by. Our next show in 2 weeks, the 17th. That'll be December 17th, our Christmas special. Now, what I give you on the Christmas special, it's pretty simple. We basically have Mongo and Bobby together. We discuss Christmas and discuss some of the fun, it's really a brotherhood thing because those two guys are really close. It's good fun. I will also give you my couple of Christmas ideas besides Sioux City Explorer eccentric ideas. There's some Christmas ideas I have, and then I also like to revisit every year the Christmas, not Christmas, but the baseball movies that are great watching during Christmas. And it all came up a few years ago when I was in Australia. I used it as kind of an intro course for Australians watching baseball. One way to really learn about the game was to watch some movies, and I break down the my top 10 really we'll break down, and I won't break them down, but I'll give you a quick list of some holiday watching. I'll give you a couple of books to read as well. A lot of things I've given to you before. Some of these things you've heard me talk about before, but I'm going to give them to you anyway because they're good. They're good reading, good discussion, and good for the holidays when you're kind of killing some time. And of course, you can tune into our podcast, which we'd love to do that. You can do that. All of our podcasts, by the way, are up on our podcast page. And by the way, it'd probably be a good idea to go ahead and put that up for you. Can I do that real quickly here while you guys talk amongst yourselves? I believe I can. Yes, I can. I got it right here. Handy. Here's the link right here. I'm going to put it in the chat. You folks, here's the link, and that is the link for all of our podcasts. You can go in there and hear this interview. You can hear the one with Ben Detay. You can go back to last year. Any of our podcasts, or all the off-season shows are all right there. So check those out wherever you get your podcasts. Well, like this page, like this show, like it all, like what we're doing. Love what we're doing back in Sioux City. Again, Emily and Emma did a great job last week in our videos with our Black Friday special. If you didn't get that, man, you missed out. But I'm sure we got more things in the works. I know that you folks, I say it pretty simply. I mean, what do you get? What do you get the X's fan who has everything? Well, more tickets. I mean, why not, right? That's what I would say. So anyway, thanks to Steve Montgomery. Thanks for everybody who stopped by in the lunch hour. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks for our Christmas special. Get everybody ready here. You guys ready for some Go X's? I'm ready. I'm going to give you I love this little fall shot right there. I love that. Kind of a fall. And if you saw my post on X, had the snow baseball, but same thing. But ready. Go X's time. You guys ready? I'm ready. Max is asleep over my shoulder. There he is. He's snoozed. He's snoozing. He doesn't care what I'm talking about. All right, here we go. Go X's time. Let's go. Let's go. All right, 1, 2, 3. Go X's. I'll see you in 2 weeks, everybody. Play the close. I promise. Somewhere.
Baseball season. Well, it's baseball time and are out to bring. Take the field, they'll be hitting and running and stealing. So come out to the park for that big league good time feeling. Well, it's baseball Sioux City style. Baseball Sioux City style. Gonna conquer the league. Hold on to your seat. The Explorers just won't be beat. Every night, Siouxland screams out loud. 'Cause the Explorers are doing the locals proud. Family and friends alike will cheer night after night as the Explorers leave their opponents out of sight. Hey, well, it's baseball Sioux City style.